The Justice Department is investigating Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and could file criminal charges. That investigation is officially about his testimony to Congress over an expensive years-long building renovation project that has now ballooned to $2.5 billion. Powell says the Department of Justice, though, is threatening those criminal charges over his testimony to the Senate Banking Committee about the renovations at the central bank.
While President Trump has been critical of Powell, he's denied involvement in the investigation. But some on the Senate Banking Committee are defending Powell, echoing his concerns over the Fed's independence. The Department of Justice won't comment on particular cases, but they do say they're prioritizing investigating the abuse of taxpayer dollars.
All right, we want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes. Khalif, there are allegations of politics at play, but on the legal side of things, we know the Fed is independent. Does this probe violate their statutory protections for the independence of the Fed?
You got so many things to unpack with this. First, when you get to that, you have to first say, well, what's the Department of Justice investigating? They're investigating his former testimony. And so what potential criminal charges could you have with that investigation? It's false statements to Congress, and it needs to be a statement was made. We know a statement was made. He testified there. Was the statement false? They can either go back and say I made a false statement or not. And then was it material? Was it something that you detrimentally relied on when you gave us his increase in money? You know, was it that building costs went up, or was I actually trying to buy gold toilets or, you know, something else outside of the scope of what we were attempting to do? And then the last portion was, did Powell act knowingly and willfully? And he would have had to know at the time his statement was false, and he would have had to intend to mislead Congress. I think that's the only way they can go if they're talking about the criminality. But if you say it's not that, and it's what Powell mentions, that it's a pretext for something else, then it raises deeper and more disturbing questions. And that's can the executive branch use the criminal process to force an independent monetary agency to do what it wants over policy disagreements? And I think, to your question, it is going to erode the independency of that agency. All of the alphabet agencies that have been under attack for the last year, maybe year and a half, have the Supreme Court has already stated that those agencies can be removed at the pleasure and at the leisure of the president, except for the Fed. If this one goes in that direction, now the Supreme Court will have to address, can you remove the Fed chair for cause or without cause? And they have wanted to be hands off on this, but it seems like this is going to push it right in the Supreme Court's lap.
Let's talk about some of the proof. Like, what do you think the DOJ needs? How far do you think this investigation will go with Powell?
I think, if you're saying that it's not the pretext and it's just specifically to his testimony, there's a record. There's a transcript. You can clearly just go to see exactly what he said, and then you can say, well, hey, did you ask for this money to do this build out? Did the renovation costs go up? Did you actually buy the things that you said you were buying? Were you funneling money to purchase and build something else? There were statements that they were attempting to make it look like the Palace of Versailles, and Powell said, no, we were actually just trying to make sure that we could keep up with the cost of new construction, because we recognize that everything has went up, if not just the cost of eggs, but the cost of lumber, the cost of people to do the construction work. And he's saying because of that, we intimately know that, this project that we thought would cost 1.3 is now going to cost 2.5, and it may even go up more than that. So you look at the testimony and see, well, were you making a false statement? That's going to be hard to prove, specifically if he can show that cost of construction has gone up. And if anyone's done a project, they know the cost of construction has went up.
Senator Tom Tillis had said that he's not going to vote for a new Fed chair, right? And Powell is going to be out this spring. And you mentioned the Supreme Court. So how long could we expect this to take? I know I asked you about time in our last case. I've got it on my mind. But how long could we expect to be talking about this?
Well, I think we'll talk about this for a while because, first of all, Powell's term as chair expires in May. Right, but he still has 2 years to serve on the board. And so if this is an attempt to remove him from the board wholly, then it would be directing to cause. If you've lied in front of Congress, that would be cause for removal. And so I think this triggers a number of things. First, you have to go through the process of determining, will we actually charge him with something? If we end up charging him with something, we as in the Department of Justice, now can we prove it, to Jason's point? And if you can go through that process of proving it, then I think then you're able to get to the president's attempt to remove him for cause, which would be required in this scenario for sure.
Our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, breaking that down for us. Khalif, thank you. We do want to bring in our chief business correspondent, Taylor Young, into this conversation. Taylor, we know the legal side of this is getting a lot of attention, but from an economic standpoint, what kind of impact can this have?
Yeah, so at the core of all of this is really the role of the Federal Reserve, and its job, which may sound complicated if you don't follow monetary policy, is actually pretty simple, really keeping the economy stable. So that means making sure as many people are working as possible, so a healthy labor market, and keeping prices steady, aka low inflation. Now, Federal Chair Jerome Powell has made it pretty clear that he believes that this is really stemming from the president really not liking the fact that the Federal Reserve is not lowering interest rates. Now, the president, as Khalif has mentioned, has denied any involvement in this investigation, but he's also been pretty outspoken about his disapproval of the Fed's modest cuts over the last year. So the concerns here from economists is not will the Fed's goals suddenly change overnight, it's whether political pressure could start to influence how those decisions are made moving forward. And when markets even start to question that independence, that's when uncertainty creeps in. So that's what we're kind of seeing from an economic standpoint, is really concerns over uncertainty moving forward.
And what could that uncertainty eventually lead to?
Yeah, so when economists say uncertainty, what they're really talking about is hesitation, right? So if markets, think big banks, think Wall Street, think companies, big investors, if they start to question the Fed, are you making monetary policy based off of hard economic data, or are you kind of relying on political pressure here? That's when they start pulling back. And when we say pulling back, that can look in real life like slower job growth. It can look like the stock market going up and down, higher borrowing costs for everyday Americans. We're talking about interest rates, and also just a slower economic growth altogether. And look, 2025, uncertainty was pretty much the buzzword of last year. And we saw how that played out, right? We saw inflation, we saw concerns over tariffs, we saw concerns over AI, immigration policy, and that ultimately led to slower job growth throughout the entire last year. So what economists want to see as we move into 2026 is that uncertainty to really kind of be replaced with stability. That's really how the economy grows steadily.
And so what else are economists looking for to show that stability?
Yeah, well, I think right now what economists are looking at are ultimately what happens with this investigation, what happens with Powell's role, but also kind of how does the Fed kind of operate and navigate moving forward? I mean, bottom line, and I think any economist will agree with this statement, is that it is critical for the overall health of the economy for the Federal Reserve to operate independently. So that's one part of the puzzle piece right here. And I also think that they'll be keeping an eye on leadership changes. As you guys just mentioned with Khalif, Powell's term expires in May. Of course, he can still stay on the board for another 2 years, but President Trump has talked openly about replacing Powell with another appointee that he approves of. So I think that moving forward, we get these jobs reports, we get the Fed meeting every 6 weeks to talk about inflation, maybe moving the interest rate up or down. Those are key factors that economists will be looking at very closely, especially with federal data coming out as well, just to see, is the Fed moving independently moving forward? So a lot to keep an eye on, especially this investigation, and then how the Fed kind of operates following that.
All right, Taylor, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.